I'm kind of wearing two hats. So on the one hand, I'm the co-chair of the group, but I'm also involved in another research infrastructure that is Operas, that deals with open scholarly communication in SSH. And today I'm going to speak about a couple of new projects that started in January that are kind of, I think, addressing some of the issues that we refer to constantly during our talk. But first of all, I would like to kind of say something about the elephant in the room. So we are all metadata people, but on the other hand, we are flooded by the influence of LLM-based research, right? So that is something like the topic that we all hear about, right? So the one thing that is important, I think, is that we kind of identify, understand the relationship between like the topic of our interest today, which is metadata-based research, and how today's LLM-based research is being developed. So enhanced metadata, and by that I mean metadata that that embedded themselves in all kinds of ecosystems of persistent identifiers, authority files, and knowledge bases through linked open data and FAIR principles. This is a very solid and factual ground that we've been working on. But this is also something that this trend and this movement towards using LLM-based methods is in dire need of, right? So factual information and ways that we can use it in kind of speeding up data processing and data extraction, and we are all excited about this, or we see people excited about this. So I think that kind of the role of the community of metadata-based specialists, experts, and researchers is to understand the ways in which this information, this factual, empirical, checked, curated information can be used together with large language models and machine learning models in general. So, and there has been a good amount of research on, for example, using knowledge graphs for ensuring higher quality information from LLMs and basically reducing hallucination, things like that. So that is the topic I think I wanted to focus a little bit on and talk about projects that we've started that kind of deal with it and invite you to collaborate, contribute, or just ask questions and shape the projects. So the one challenge that we are part of and we should be part of is the reliability of machine learning-based models or LLM-based results of research. That is one thing that I think that we should really appreciate. So the reliability of the results of LLM-based research is something that I think that we all think about, or we are, worried about or excited about at some point. And yes, and all the information that you've all been working on, whether you are more like research infrastructure people or research people, this is the information that in fact should be used and should be curated further to improve quality of this kind of research. So this kind of challenge, it translates into very specific technological challenges that also were mentioned a little bit here and there. So some of you that are more into curating cultural heritage collections, we're talking more about the collections that are, for example, more like RDF graphs and more like semantically rich and enriched collections. Some of you even mentioned that, okay, I'm not into this kind of knowledge organization. I'm more like researcher, so I'm using like the label property graphs and so on. So there is also this discrepancy in how we treat knowledge, even amongst ourselves. So we're doing metadata-based research. One is a little bit a different way. So one of the challenges is to bridge the gap between the knowledge bases that are kind of RDF-based resources that we know from cultural heritage organizations and all kinds of ontologies, and whatever the researchers are now more and more doing in terms of using machine learning, right? So this is one of the challenges. So we want to make results of research processes, like whatever you do in Neo4j, let's say, right? We want to make it more findable, more discoverable, right? So this is one of the challenges, that there are no clear and tested solutions. There are ways of doing this, but it's still a challenge. So, and now I'm transitioning to one of our projects that kind of are trying to deal with this problem of combining LLM-based research with knowledge bases, with knowledge graphs. And it has all started with a service by Opera, so it was an EOSC service, European Open Science Cloud Service. And by the way, EOSC is still going on. But it is a GoTriple platform that integrates SSH research. So we finished this platform in the end of 2020, in 2023, and obtained further funding for new projects around this aggregator of SSH materials, multilingual materials from 11 countries. So, and we have 2 projects to develop this into this direction that I was describing, about this targeting the challenge of knowledge bases and LLM working together. So the first project, and it just started in January. So my whole speech is basically invitation for you to ask questions and get in touch to shape the project, as you are the researchers in SSH using metadata and also other methods. So we really want to hear from you. The first project is GRAPHIA project. This is a Horizon application, knowledge graphs, AI services, next generation instrumentation for research and development in social sciences and humanities. 3-year project that just started in January, as I've said, led by Operas, with 20 beneficiaries, around 10 million euro in budget, with 1.6 coming also from the Swiss Odoma company. And what Graphia will try to deliver 2 things: SSH knowledge graph and LLM for SSH. But there are 2 things. So these projects, the call demanded to involve numerous S3s, so large research infrastructures. And here we have ERI, ERIC, Operas, GGP, and Resilience. So interdisciplinary kind of group. As led by Operas, as I said, and yes, and this, we want to build an infrastructure that allows to build SSH knowledge graph solutions for SSH that work together. And we are also be developing kind of pilots and use cases also for industry, as we have SMEs also involved in this project that are interested in SSH data and how they can use it to enrich their application. So these are the key exploitable results that we can expect: SSH knowledge graph, LLM for SSH citation index, for example, and a couple of different things. Yes, so the main challenge behind Graphia project is to understand how the knowledge organization in forms of knowledge graphs and knowledge bases can be used together with LLM-based research. So we need involvement of researchers in SSH. Just right now, we are conducting first interviews about the needs of the community to have a requirement engineering. So you can sign up for an interview by experts and say, okay, I want this kind of APIs, I want this kind of, so this is a technical, really project. Of course, there will be different features accessible for different users, but here we are in more advanced kind of a community. So that's why I'm saying that you can also like impact how the results technically will be deployed, right? So if you are into using Neo4j, you are into using, you are a metadata expert, you have ideas about how you can use knowledge graphs with LLMs, that is the project that wants to hear from you and kind of build on your knowledge. So this is GRAPHIA project, and GRAPHIA project started, it will be going on for 3 years, but we also have a smaller project that is kind of, in fact, pilot of GRAPHIA that we got through Oscar's EOS calls. And basically, this is like a smaller pilot that implements some kind of a basic data services for GoTriple. So it is like a suite of Jupyter Lab, Neo4j, chatbot annotation tools, and we will be deploying them and have a small open call in March 25, and you can get 3 months of data scientist support for your project, right? So you don't get any funding, but you get people for like programmers to help you develop your project and publish something. And it will be people that some of you know, like Cezary Rosiński from our team and Nikodem, programmers that some of you, like for example, Andrzej worked already on projects that have been funded by different agencies. So they are quite also experienced in supporting research projects. They also have good qualifications for that. So FASCA basically is something that you can, and we will be also offering free consultations, even if you don't get this call. So you can just sign up for an hour and talk with us, or talk and just say, okay, you have an idea, and it will be free. I think the 30 hours of free consultations will be provided. Finally, and the final project, let's say, that also started in January, that is also around GoTriple service, is Lumen project. This is EOS project, around 20 partners, similar community, not totally the same, but similar. So around CNRS, but with operas heavily involved. So the Lumen project is something that I think is interesting from the interdisciplinary perspective, because it will take the software that GoTriple was built on and will be using it to satisfy the needs of mathematicians, earth system scientists, and molecular dynamics experts. So there's basically the community that saw that GoTriple will be needed by their community if certain functionalities will be available, and especially what they care about is linking of datasets, software, and publications. So this is something that digital humanities or computational social sciences know a lot about, but for non-SSH research, this is very important. So basically, thanks to this, the GoTriple platform that was focused on publications will have enhanced features around linking publications, software, and datasets. And what will be the result is that there will be a white label software. So if someone wants to have a discovery service for whatever reason, they can take it, build some, it will be modular, so you can basically configure your discovery service and use it for whatever discipline you want to use it, and in whatever context. Yeah, so that would be. And here in this project, we will also have something that is more similar to the challenges that I've been speaking in the beginning. So here will be a chatbot will be developed for GoTriple dataset that will be more into exploring into like notebook LM type chatbot that you can speak with curated resources, which goes back to using LLMs in a way that is controlled by researchers and not through like general models. Yes, so again, here for Lumen, if someone is more into multidisciplinary research, or someone really cares about research software, dataset curation, research data, that this is the project for you, where you can could collaborate on the same topics, but with non-SSH people that have very similar problems, in fact. And we talk about data extraction for SSH publications. They talk about, for example, extracting molecules from publications. And so at some point, this is the same similar thing that they want to do. So maybe in some cases, also in metadata curation, SSH might be also more advanced than some non-SSH disciplines, which is kind of an interesting finding for me while listening to our colleagues. So here again, we are conducting interviews, and we will be conducting interviews. If anyone wants to take part or just be in the pool of testers, just let me know. You will go into the spreadsheet, and for sure someone will contact you, and you will be on top of what's being developed. And it's usually not something that is very problematic. It's like an hour of usability test or an hour of interview, and you can have hands-on experience with some developments. So this is it from me about the challenges of combining like structured knowledge with current needs to develop LLM-based research or just model-based research. And if you have any questions, or if you want to contribute or want to get engaged with any of the projects, just let me know and you will be contacted for sure. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Now we have about shy 10 minutes for questions. So please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate and ask. Don't be shy.
Everything was clear.
No, I actually was thinking, you have so many projects. If you're thinking about developing a chatbot, that would help me, direct my questions to one of your projects. Because, sometimes you have a question or you have an idea about where to go, about what you want to do. But these projects, to me, at some points seem quite similar. Maybe, yes. So do you have kind of an idea about how to market all these projects so that people get involved?
Yeah, so the big typical problem in the beginning is that so you have projects, but you don't. So, but then you have the results of the projects, right? So there is a balance between both, kind of, that you are kind of branding the projects, but on the other hand, the results are not yet defined. But basically, the best thing to do is to just contact whichever of the projects, like we have social media, and then just on LinkedIn, Lumen or Graphia projects are there. If you follow them, so you can then try to contact, because I think that our approach is more like, instead of branding the projects, is to start as soon as possible to work around the results and kind of use them. So yes, so that is, it's just too early to expect that we have a very clear communication around the results, because we started in January. So it's like the second or third month. But if you are interested, then whichever project you contact, you will get an answer, because projects are working basically together. So each project knows everything about another project. So that's the case. So a real 3 projects. So you're kind of led from place to place.
More questions?
I'm more for exploring. At this point.
Yeah, well, suddenly to popped up.
Well, we were just earlier discussing GoTriple, and it's a multi-lingual discovery tool for scholarly publications and social sciences and humanities. So we were just wondering if the search is limited to openly available, open access publications, or does it also include data or publications that are in repositories that are, or let's say, research information systems that are
So there is no limitation on the scope in terms of whether this is openly accessible or not. It's more based on what sources we aggregate with the national communities usually. So we work with national communities in the countries that are there. For example, now we add Spanish community, and they kind of help us define what what should be aggregated from a certain community, which is not an easy task to do, right? In some countries, you will aggregate one big provider of open access articles. In the other, you have many, many smaller providers like journals or universities providing you data. So in fact, what is now the challenge for GoTriple is understand what we should aggregate besides what we already have. And I think that in this year, we'll just need to find a way to get the experts in the room and understand what are the needs. What the researchers need more there, because we have resources to aggregate stuff. The question is when this is enough. So because one way is like OpenAlex or OpenAir, so basically we should have everything. The other is more curated and targeted. But this is also something that we are exploring, like kind of how to decide what and when is enough, because now the researchers, this is them. And of course, we never will have things that are behind paywall. So this is something that we are thinking about as well. But we know that also researchers work with stuff that is behind paywall on themselves, on their, I don't want to go into details, but we all know that it's been going on. And the question is whether we can interact with whatever researchers are doing, which is behind paywall, because it's a huge blocker in like scholarly communication, right? Because we can have stuff there that we can, but we know that researchers have other collections that they cannot share through our from some of our tools, right? That is one big problem, but maybe there are some ideas. You can have some ideas. You all know what you use. Yeah, so that is it. But to expect some workshops around scope of GoTriple this year, and we want to get help.
James?
My big question. So I guess I'm really interested in the things like open source cloud, Oculus, etc. seem to be creating this like burst of tool development at the moment. There seems to be a lot going on, lots of different projects, lots of big tool development, and I pretty welcome this given, for example, what Clarivate did recently, the complexities of how libraries are trying to fight with different subscription models to metadata, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a really good reason to be investing in open infrastructures that aren't alongside the commercial infrastructures. I guess what I'm really intrigued about at the moment is, and obviously these things are early stages, but what is your sense of sort of what levels of uptake, what levels of usage, what levels of like underpinning this, like underpin services, do you feel are going to be needed over the next sort of 5 years, decade to make these services worth continuing to invest in? Because it's the kind of, it's the classic project problem, right? And I'm just intrigued what you think generally, what is the kind of the mood music of where these are going to go, and whether some of this tool development will be really good burst of innovation, that's going to work at the time, but is generally retired, and which things, what sort of usages you think are going to mean that it's become long-term infrastructures?
So
yeah, it's not a criticism of
yes.
specific projects. It's really, I'm really interested in this burst.
Yeah. So maybe we don't have numbers yet, like what is the usage, but what I would say is that the research shows about research infrastructures, and like there were people comparing commercial research infrastructures and open ones, right? Asking questions. So what is the main difference, like in terms of running them? So why one of them are successful and have numbers and the others don't have? It is the amount of basically work in the marketing sector. So that is basically the difference. It's not even the difference, but the quality of the service, right? So we need to have, so that's why when we are developing stuff right now, there are not only tools, we try to offer support services so we can bring people to use, like more and more people, like SSH researchers to use them. So we can track a little and understand the needs more. So that is one of our ideas to offer services. So be realistic and target the sustainability. So maybe there will be freemium models, for example, right? So you have some underlying infrastructure, but we know that very different needs. So if you want support, you want a data scientist to work with you. So the FASCA project is basically testing this kind of approach. We have the tooling, but there are data scientists waiting for you to contact and do a project with you if you have some, right? So that is like one of the sustainability solutions, that there are motivated communities on both ends. And we know that there are data scientists waiting to work with SSH researchers. So this is one different approach that we try to understand. But well, to fight for open research infrastructures is to invest in, basically the next step is to invest in is basically, to be blunt, like customer relationship management and marketing and things like that. That's the difference that we don't, when we have the last position in open research infrastructure, the marketing communication person, when there is the bulk of investment is in that. And how can you, let's say, solve this problem, knowing the research funding mechanisms that don't seem to have like the huge amount of resources for marketing and communication of services. They have staff to build tools. But this is a known problem. It's not like we don't understand this. This is like something that we understand as a brutal sustainability challenge. And this idea of data service is kind of one of the realistic ideas, that we are fair to the community, but we also leave stuff open. Yes, and building the communities locally, building connections with academic libraries and things of the nature, the mediators. And this is the work to be done, which also part of Operas, and we have quite a good collaboration with them, but they need to understand that also there is some tooling that they can offer next to the commercial services. They can speak about those open solutions, and maybe this is for next 3 years so mediators understand that they could send researchers also to open infrastructures, although there needs to be sometimes some money, but it's a different kind of ecosystem to work in. That is it.
Thank you for moving the constant of data scientists just waiting for.
Yeah, we want to make this happen because we think this is an attractive situation to kind of realize the digital transformation. But that's kind of a vision. Because tools, some people will be able to use them, some won't. But probably in general, more SSH researchers could use digital methods. Like in general, you will be able to do something on your own, but many won't. And this is kind of a gap that we identified.
Okay, last question.
It's not enough to have excellent data scientists for this project, but you need to have good GPU servers to run these large language models. Do you provide a server background for these projects?
Well, for the projects, yes. So in the projects, there's like PSNC, which is Poznań Supercomputing Networking Center, is the infrastructure provider for everything that is developed. But then, okay, so one of the things that we need to come up with if we want to give SSH researchers opportunities to develop their data-driven research is, in fact, because everyone asks about resources right now, right? Where can I train this model? Where are my GPUs? So we know this, that everyone wants it. So one of the things that we want to secure is kind of, if we have innovation, Opera's innovation lab, one of the first things that we talk about is, okay, let's have a couple of GPUs available for researchers to develop their stuff, and they can come train models, and that's it. We know this is important. It's still an issue, but for sure it's recorded. We know that this is one of the first thing for advanced researchers that they ask for. And so it's technically there, but the question is whether this is for use for SSH, right? So because we know that GPU are there, but not necessarily for, let's say, us. So it's about, taking a little bit and setting it aside so SSH researchers can use it. And this kinds of projects are a little bit also about that.
Well, thank you very much, Mike, and thanks
Thank
for
you,
being
guys.
here.